And one of the first things we did was to look at how we could improve the alleyways. Right? So in here is everything. Okay, so first thing I learned, and this is like me starting off fresh, is who's responsible for our alleyways. And
that's what my first question was.
Yeah, and you know, just it was a mess in Chinatown. Dumpsters everywhere, cans and rats and birds. And
same in Seattle.
And I actually met with a youth group. I started a youth program called Chinatown Adopt an Alleyway.
I saw that.
Right?
Yeah.
So basically, the youth said, "Man, we got to do something about our alleyways. This is pretty bad." And then so a combination of things. One is we started the Adopt an Alleyway Youth Project in 1991, and we went around monitoring the alleyways and complaining to the city about it, but people wouldn't listen, so we pretty much went to the press. And the youth started, see, they adopted 4 sectors, and so I started with these 8 youth here, and we basically graded the alleyways. So since kids get graded in school, we wanted to grade society and government. So they graded the alleyways, F for this, F for that. And next thing you know, things began to change. And then I hired Jasmine Call, who you're going to meet tomorrow, as a planner for us. And she did her master's thesis on alleyways. See? So then she came to me back in, I forgot what, 92, we were looking through all my files and we were finding my alleyways. And so I said, why don't you work for us? You know, great. And so she, with her skills, her background and interests, created with us the Chinatown master plan for the alleyways. So I got you the whole master plan here. See, I get the one. I did my homework this morning just for Jasmine, because actually wrote. So this is all the alleyways. Well, not all, 31 of them that we actually created plans for. So we had to meet with alleyway residents. It was not easy.
I'm sure.
Because they have to sign off and buy into the plan. Anyway, yeah, this is a long process, and then Jasmine Call put it all together. We got the city planning to adopt our plan. I think we're the first neighborhood to give them a plan.
Wow, that's amazing.
And we work closely with the Department of Public Works, and basically, city planning says, yes, we adopt your master plan. I think it's a model for many cities. Grass from the bottom up planning is much better.
Yeah.
And what we did though, the hard part that I had to do, this was my job, I had to find the money, because it was like DPW and their maps of the city, they did not include our alleyways for maintenance. So it was all the responsibilities of the community. That seemed unfair with cars going through and all that. Basically, they washed their hands of their social responsibilities. And so part of the master plan, and even one by one, we got the city to adopt our alleyways. They got away with not being responsible by saying your alleyways are too small. They don't fit the code in terms of how wide a street should be.
How wide are they?
I mean, well, it's all okay. But anyway, I go, wait, we can't move buildings in this historic neighborhood, man. Give me a break. So, since the city started right in Chinatown, see, people don't know Portsmouth Square right there. The waterfront was right here. So this was Yerba Buena Cove, and the city grew up from right here, Chinatown. Yeah. So that's why the alleyways were a little too narrow, and the city was pretty much got away with not being responsible. But now, so we came up with this plan. We found money. It was gas tax money. That was set aside for, actually it was mitigation funds from Trammell Crow, well anyway,
No, Trammell Crow.
Yeah, and they wanted to widen the street, but that mitigation fund was set aside for, the plan was, now I'm getting complicated, sorry, but
yeah, no, it's interesting.
It was set aside for a new park. So we thought that money could be used for a new park that we fought for too. It's up the street on Powell Street. But at the same time, the city started this open space pot of funds. And so we every year were asked for money for that. So we didn't need this mitigation fund. Trauma Pro Fund, was just call it that for now. And so it was sitting in a DPW coffers. I found out through my buddy that works in the city. And so we had a master plan, but we needed the funding, they said. So we asked different groups to use that money and have it set aside for alleyways instead of the new park.
Wow.
So it was 2.8 million. And the dream was to improve, all 30 alleyways in 10 years, and we've only done 10, I think. So we got a long way to go. The prices go up, so we're still fighting for the master plan to be implemented, and we just have to advocate for more funding. But it was a great combination of youth involved and environmental justice, whatever you want to call it, combined with planners from Chinatown CDC who we worked really hard to get the buy-in and draw it up. It's actually a great story. So basically the mitigation fund, Trauma Crow, was set aside in a DPW, Department of Public Works account. It's called the Chinatown Mitigation Fund. It was sitting in there. Through the Board of Soups, that money was allocated for Chinatown, open space, and alleyways was in there too. So that's why it was legit for us to use that fund that was sitting there, and I think DPW was depending on the interest for a while. But anyway, we got it reallocated towards the alleyway master plan. So that's pretty much it. Okay, for the longest time, I remember meeting with the public housing folks and Department of Public Health and Environmental. They didn't want to mess with the garbage cans that were all in the alleyway. So we basically, you asked Jasmine, but we had to recreate a garbage system so that they could put it inside. So they have these big, ugly metal ones, and you can't put that inside, right? So we had to go inside and create these smaller ones that now are real popular anyway. They bins, yeah.
We just put them in Seattle too.
Good. So we got pretty much, we changed the garbage system in the alleyways. So now there won't be those big giant trash cans.
Is it the same where both building owners own half the alley here, the setback, or does the city own it?
See, that's where they cheated, man. They said they're not city streets, but I mean, we only get the sidewalk portion, like 3 feet out or whatever that is.
If you own the building?
Right.
Oh, okay.
So your owners are responsible for the sidewalk in the front and cleaning that. But then when the alleyways weren't called city streets, then it became the responsibility of all of the owners, which is totally unfair.
Jeez.
So anyway, it's changed now. I can not be too angry anymore.
So sanitation comes through.
Sanitation comes and clean through most of the alleyways now. But
did they all have names originally?
The names for the alleyways?
Yeah.
Yeah, they had names, but what we did was also add the Chinese names. So Chinatown knew. That's why when you go through, you'll see 2 different names, right?
Oh, okay.
I mean, like St. Louis Alley, right, or something like that. But and then for Chinatown, it was famous for actually, I think it was fire. The 1906 earthquake fire, and there's stories about like these fire gods jumping across. I mean, that's what's cool with the alleys. The main one you got to go to is Henga Alley, which in Chinese means it smells fragrant, and that's because there was a German perfumery in that alleyway. So the Chinese name was actually better than the English name. Sorry, you know.
Yeah, no, it is.
I think they call it Pagoda Alley.
Okay.
So when you go through the alleyways, you'll see we've tried to uplift the history as well, and that's part of it. And then put a few murals in between some of the alleyways. Some getting graffiti like crazy.
Yeah.
That's another.
And then do the kids clean that?
Yeah, the kids try to do their best to do graffiti removal at least once a month. They sweep through the alleyways too.
The city can't do that?
And well, the city does some, but it's not enough. It's like so densely populated here. It's a joint venture.
That's awesome.
But we still got a lot more alleyways to go through.
20.
And hopefully we'll raise money every year if the city doesn't get too broke. And
so most of the funding is coming from the city.
Well, like I said, the 2.8 million came from the mitigation thing.
So that was the first fund that went to the first.
Yeah, and it's all dried up now.
Okay.
So we need the city to kick in more money, capital improvement grants, or wherever they're going to get them. You can talk to Jasmine bought that.
So Jasmine works with the Department of Public Works?
So she was stolen by DPW Landscape Architects because she helped do the plans.
Yes, awesome.
And remember, Jasmine, you're Chinatown CDC, this is your roots. So we still get credit for all the work. You're working for the city implementing, but don't forget you did this while you were with Chinatown CDC. You see this?
And then the way I got tuned into it when I was in grad school was Chinatown CDC wrote a grant to the National Endowment for the Arts.
Okay.
And this was back in the 80s,
Oh,
early 80s, when they commissioned an architect named Mui Ho, who happened to be a lecturer at Berkeley when I was studying at Berkeley.
Okay.
And I met her, and she did the study, initial study for Chinatown's alleys. This was so Chinatown CDC, back then it was called Chinatown Resource Center. So they wrote a grant proposal to the National Endowment for the Arts to look at expanding potential open space expansion in Chinatown. So they commissioned this architect to study the potential of alleyways and rooftop spaces.
Oh.
For, you know, because it's such a dense population.
Yeah.
So at the time, you know, there's such limited space. So anyway, so that's how it started, for at least that I know of, for Chinatown. And then I ran across this study when I was doing work in Berkeley. And then I met her, and she happened to be lecturing. You know, she was a lecturer, a full-time lecturer at Berkeley at the time in the architecture department. She has her own private practice in Berkeley. And so I met her, and we became good friends. And then then I got interested in the alleyways in Chinatown and talked to Norman and did my thesis.
And then your thesis was the master plan, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, no, thesis was not a master plan.
Oh.
The master plan was written after I graduated.
Oh.
So this was my thesis, and it was called Turning Fish Heads into Fillets.
When I called my friends and told them I was coming down here, they're like, all you're going to see is fish heads.
Yeah, exactly. Chinatown, you know.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but I looked at Chinatown Alley sort of as a case study, and then the first few chapters looked at just alleys and the use of alleys and mews and, you know, the history of the alleys.
Oh my God, this is amazing.
So I did some of that, and this was early CAD program, you know, Microsoft.
These are great drawings. Are these your drawings?
Yeah.
These are beautiful.
Yeah, so these were little sketches that I put together for each alley. And this particular thesis led Chinatown CDC to look at writing, asking for more money from the city.
Okay.
And they advocated for funds, and they got 1.3 million, and then they hired me to write the plan.
That's amazing. That's like my dream come true.
Yeah, so
that's
it was like, yeah, so kind of like you know, I got interested, and then I got to do something in real life. So that's how I ended up.
That's incredible. This is awesome.
So then I worked for Chinatown CDC for about 7 years.
That's what Norman said.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great story.
That's cool.
And for Chinatown also, the alleyways are not back alleys; they're the fronts for a lot of businesses. So at the same time, we work with the business shops to try to upgrade.